The previous packages have been implemented at a time when external demand for Japanese exports was waning at a pace that was difficult to compensate by government efforts to boost domestic spending. This time, exports are rising, and the issue is to actually jumpstart the economy rather than see it gradually recover. So I think that this package will go some way towards that direction, but we are talking here about amounts of maybe 4 trillion yen, maybe a little bit more, which is around 1% of Japanese GDP, not enough to actually make it a game changer. But having said that, the Japanese economy will expand next year. We are going for around 2.5% up in the GDP, so it will be a better year.
2.5%, that's for 2010. We're getting some numbers out on Wednesday. What are you looking for there?
Well, unfortunately, on Wednesday, the revised third quarter data will come as a disappointment, particularly as a result of continued contraction of capital investments. We will see a relatively large downward revision of the pace of expansion. But the markets are somewhat prepared for that. The third quarter is behind us. The key issue right now is whether the government will manage to stimulate domestic demand in the future, especially next year. Are they going to get the consumer spending? And this still is up in the air. It depends a lot on confidence in the new policies, as well as on the outlook for a change in demographic trends in Japan, something that is still open in terms of whether it will be successful or not. Next year will be good, but the longer-term potential depends on whether population growth resumes.
Are we going to see the BOJ essentially pressured by the government to do more on the QE front?
I think that the government has to continue to push Bank of Japan because central bankers in that country are too cautious. They have traditionally been behind the curve, and they are so slow in recognizing the fact that the current country is, for example, in deflation. It's only recently that they have openly admitted it, and Japan will be in deflation for at least 2 more years. So there has to be more action. They have to move forward on the path to on the path of quantitative easing, probably return to quantitative liquidity targets. Otherwise, the government is probably going to have a really hard time stimulating the economy because it will be so difficult for it to take on even more debt. So yes, there will be more action from the Bank of Japan under government pressure.
We'll be watching that very closely. Of course, an interesting story that's unraveling there. Dariusz, fantastic to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Dariusz Kowalczyk from SJS Markets.